Let's bring in political analyst Lori Turnbull with more on those two men across the table from one another. And my understanding is at one point their eyes locked and they may have done this sort of, little gun shooting back and forth like, hey, I see you across the table there kind of thing here. Your takeaways?
I hope so. I hope you're right about that. I mean, looking at the table based on the video you just showed, it was not like the two of them were having a kind of one-on-one moment, right? Like there's lots of space for those conversations to be going everywhere, and maybe they didn't have much of a meaningful exchange at all, but maybe they did. I hope the winks and the guns are positive. I hope that maybe that shows there's still some kind of good rapport between the two of them, but I'm not sure we should be taking much from this, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think we can get the video and show it again in a moment, but there's also a way to look at this, Lori, which is like it's the farthest point away from each other at the table.
Yes.
Right?
100%. Yeah, they don't really have to interact at all. And, if the wink and the gun was all Mark Carney got, then I don't know, right? Like maybe not really much to be excited about. That said, I think it's just we're too much in the eye of this at this point to know what's really going to trickle out from the Premier Ford's ad, for example, and whether the president is really going to go ahead with 10% tariffs, and who knows at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the South Koreans got a bit of a break. Their car industry is so huge for them. Americans drive a lot of South Korean vehicles. And word from South Korea, the tariffs have been dropped from 25% down. So that's good news for them. You mentioned the ambassador, Pete Hoekstra. So he's Donald Trump's ambassador to Canada, said to have gotten into a dust-up, or at least, being a little rude and out of line with Ontario's trade representative to Washington on Monday at an event in Ottawa. Doug Ford has called on Pete Hoekstra to apologize. We know that Hoekstra has offended a lot of Canadians with comments that he's made in the last couple of months as well. What's your takeaway there, Lori? Well,
I mean, to your point, this isn't the first time that we've heard a kind of an outburst, something you could call a rant, it's kind of string of thoughts where he sort of seems to be thinking out loud and feeling out loud and saying things that seems to me to be the opposite of any kind of diplomacy. It seems like Hoekstra's comments are really blaming Canada for the situation right now between Canada and the U.S. And we are supposed to understand, for example, that the 51st state comments are terms of endearment. Maybe he's just teasing us, and we're not supposed to take a big thing out of this. But I mean, something like this, I think a couple of things. One, the reason for the person, to be here, the role of the ambassador is to be a diplomat. What in the world are you doing yelling and swearing, during an official dinner like this? It just seems very strange. Why, right? Is it that Premier Ford's ad got under their skin so badly that he's actually yelling and swearing at a dinner? Like it's kind of baffling.
Why is it our responsibility on the Canadian side here to try and lower the temperature and get back on track? Is that not something that should be shared in both countries?
It should be shared, yes. Is it going to be shared? Probably not. And so I think it's probably a realization from our part that we have an interest in trying to take the temperature down. I think we can see very interesting developments as the days go by in terms of the role of Premier Ford in this whole thing. Sometimes we see him coming across as being the one with kind of the big boisterous language. He's the one who ran the ad. He's the one he's been described as kind of the bad cop to Mark Carney's good cop. But now we see him come in a kind of different role. All of it kind of very much fits with his political style. He's kind of dressed down a bit, and he says, look, Pete, you've got to apologize to Dave. The cheese fell off the cracker. We can figure this back out. And Doug Ford is uniquely suited to be able to say those kinds of things. Most politicians can't get away with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and so just building on that before we go, your take on, the political boost that we're seeing for Doug Ford as a result of this ad, Lori?
I think that all of this is obviously the situation with Canada and the U.S. There are huge political implications. There are huge economic implications, but there are also emotional implications. We are hurt by these developments in our relationship with the U.S. There are lots of studies now to show that a lot of Canadians don't feel that the U.S. is a friend anymore. That hurts. It's not just the money. It's not just the trade. It's not just the jobs. Even those things, though, all those things are hugely impactful. And I think Doug Ford has an ability politically to connect with those sorts of things in ways that a lot of politicians don't. We can hear him say things that we identify with, he can channel that kind of anger and frustration and fear that people have. And so I think it's a moment that I'm sure in many ways he doesn't want, because nobody wants to deal with this with the U.S. and no one wants to be in this situation. But I think it's a moment where actually his political skills really shine.
Lori Turnbull with her take. Good to see you, Lori.
Good to see you too. Take care.